Hey everybody, welcome back. Yesterday was President's Day, so it was a state holiday, but it wasn't a county holiday. The courthouse was open, but there was no court. So we got a short week and a big case going on this week. So I would suggest that, actually the judge has already told the jury that it's going to probably run into next week. Most of these murder cases take at least 4 days. And you know, if it comes into a Friday afternoon, a lot of times they don't want the jury to deliberate going into being pressured or anything. So once you miss that opportunity of a 5-day week, it really turns into the next week. And that's what I suggest will happen here. I don't know how this one's going to turn out because it's a very tough case. What I do know is the process, and I think that it would demystify some of this just by 2 minutes of going over what happens on almost every week. Now, we have to deal with the media, and those guys are, what time is this? This is not surgery. It's not going to be exact because you're dealing with not only jurors, but a lot of times the judges, depending on if a judge is slower or faster, or there's so many twists and turns, the defense attorneys, a lot of variables. Here's what you know. On Monday of jury duty, everybody will be in the jury holding room at about 10 o'clock. They come through a metal detector that is manned by Horry County Sheriff's Office. Then they are taken right down beside our office to a jury holding room. Almost immediately after everybody gets settled in and everybody gets checked in to a computer system, the judge will come downstairs and ask a series of questions. He is asking to see whether or not a person is a statutorily valid juror. And there's some things that would make you not able to serve jury duty, like if you had a felony on your record. You come either way, but the judge, in a very non-evasive way, will ask a bunch of questions and then have everybody stand up at once. That way you're telling your story, not in front of the whole group, but up to the judge to see whether or not you qualify to be a juror. There are some things that are sort of a gray area. If you're over the age of 65, you can be a juror, but you don't have to be. So those questions are going forward. And then they ask a series of questions to see how much money the clerk's office will pay each person for jury duty. So they ask questions about, where do you live? How far away is it? How many miles did you drive to get here? Because she's got to keep up with your mileage to pay for that. Nobody leaves jury duty rich. But what we are trying to do is to make sure that people are at least not coming out of pocket to do a civil service. So those are the sort of questions that would go on. There are some questions that I would consider voir dire, which is Latin for the body or the truth. What we're trying to figure out there is, where do you work? What do you do for a living? What does your husband or wife do for a living? Those sort of things. In other states, jury voir dire will take months. And in death penalty cases in South Carolina, it could take a week. But ours is very limited for any other case but death penalty. And the judge would just ask those same standard questions, and then the prosecutors on one side and the defense team on the other side have to make a determination, would this be a good juror for the state? If so, we would say, present the juror. If the defense says, oh boy, that person seems to have a bias for the police or against the police, they will make the determination as to whether or not to seat the juror. The defense gets, in most cases, 10 strikes. The state gets 5 strikes. It is what it is. It's been that way forever. At the end of that, we narrow a group of hundreds down to 12, and then a couple of alternates. Those people will go upstairs and wait. They'll probably be excused for lunch. During that break, the lawyers will remain, the judge will remain, and there will be certain motions that will go forward that may have a big effect on the case. A motion of whether or not to allow certain testimony or not allow certain testimony. Anything that we can stipulate to, all of that will be worked out in just a couple of hours. Then the jury will come back, and the first thing that will happen is the judge will ask everybody to stand that's on the petit jury or the 12-person jury, and ask them to swear to listen, stay attentive, and do their duty as jurors. I hope it demystifies everything. It is, I would love to sit in on jury duty. Obviously, I'm pretty much unqualified, but I do have to get called every time for federal jury duty. That's one of the things that disqualify me from being able to sit on a state jury. One of the questions is, do you work within the walls of the courthouse? And yes. Okay, well, you can't sit on it. You work at the clerk's office. You work at the solicitor's office. So that's sort of what it is like. It may feel like it's a real scary process. It's not. People are very understanding, not only in our office, but the clerk's office and the judge. And if you've planned a Disney vacation or if you're going to the mountains, they're not going to make you stay for that. They'll transfer you. But you know, we owe this whole system, even though there's people on both sides with very opposing views. The ones that very much make the difference in our community and whether or not it's going to be safe is jurors. It can't go on without jurors. And you'll see people just every week, I don't care, I ain't done nothing, I don't know nothing, I'm going to trial. Set that 12 people up there and they're like, I want to plead guilty. And that's their right to do. But a lot of that stuff goes on in the background. Now you know, going forward, it's not the most convenient thing, but it's not as bad as you would think. You're not sitting in a dentist chair getting a tooth drilled. It's not that bad. And it's over in a week and you feel good about yourself. You go away with a check for about $15 or whatever your mileage was. And that's sort of what a week of jury duty looks like. Come back next week. I'll fill you in, good, bad, or indifferent, on how this case went. And we'll discuss any other cases that may have ended in plea this week.